I mean, God blessed us. We're able to find ourselves in this relocation. So praise the Lord. Okay, hey guys. Welcome back to Nennie Vlog. Welcome back to Nennie Vlog. Okay guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm being joined by Mr. Chris, my husband. Guys, there should be a drum roll here. Yay! Anyways guys, today we are talking about relocating to Canada, the myths, the pros and the cons of relocating to Canada alone or as a family. We are more experienced in the aspect of relocating to Canada alone because we both migrated to Canada alone.
Yeah.
And there are some experiences that we have even before we became a couple that we feel like would help people not experience or make the mistakes that we might have made relocating here.
Anyways guys, thanks for being here again, and we welcome you back. If you're a subscriber, welcome back, and if you're new, you know what to do.
Just disclaimer, we are not immigration agents, we are not any form of agents,
but we're just giving you what we went through and what we feel might help. Usually off the top, I'll just tell you now that everyone's experiences are always different, right? Like it differs from individual to individual. So what are my experiences is not what you might experience should you decide to migrate into Canada. So yeah, so we'll just give you that off the top and the basic things that you need to get right before you
moving to this country.
So
before you buy your winter jacket, things that you have to know. We're supposed to be eating, so guys, let's get our food set up first and I'm going to go right into it. Guys, I went ahead to put up a couple of polls on my Instagram page. My first question is, did you relocate or move to Canada? 89% voted yes, 11% said nah, Canada what? So they're not in Canada at all. Did you move to Canada with your family or alone? 81% voted alone and 19% voted with family. Then my next question was, what word most closely sums up your life in Canada based on if you voted alone or if you came here alone or you came with family? 56% picked the word humbling and 44% picked chilling. And then I went on to ask some questions which include, if you could advise yourself before relocating to Canada, what would your advice be? So these are some of the responses I got. I got somebody that asked me a very comprehensive list of questions which we'll be addressing on this video as well. The first thing that one person said that he would advise himself before coming to Canada includes meet more people, make new friends every day. So if he had known before he came to Canada, he would prepare himself to meet more people, make new friends, and so that he's not alone. Oyinye said, God's got a plan, don't worry, be ready. That should have advised herself that before coming to Canada. And then I have the Igbo maiden who said she would have advised herself to work on skills to make side hustle and be open on new things out of her comfort zone. I cannot overemphasize this. What do you think about this advice? Like learning a skill before coming to Canada?
Well, that frankly, that's pretty much everyone's at some point. That's everyone's experience, right? Because I would say almost everyone. Personally, I would say, given this pandemic right now, what I should have learned is how to cut my hair, because obviously you can see I haven't cut my hair in like 2-3 months now. Generally I cut my hair once a month, but now it's like this werewolf or whatever. So that's something I would have learned how to do, because to cut your hair is about what, $30 or $25, right?
So imagine if you could do that yourself, you save the money.
You could save money. Even, well, now you can't really go to other people's house, but that's something I would have loved to do. I'll advise, if you can, like, try to learn something different, because when you get here, forget all these flex that you're seeing on Instagram.
Not even flex, right? Forget the fact that they tell you that I'm moving abroad, you can get a job.
It's really difficult. There will be times where you would probably regret coming to Canada, because in Nigeria we have this level of freedom, and you know that bad as a bad. your papa. If you go your papa house,
last
right?
you go still see 3 square meters
So,
chop. But
but here you have to actually work, and
ain't nobody giving you food.
You have to work, and you have bills to pay. The bills don't stop coming.
If I were to advise myself, like the Igbo maiden said, to get more skills, so we both agree with what she said. Then Crazy Dollface said you didn't need an agent, you could have done this yourself. So contrary to belief, we agree with Crazy Dollface 100%. See, I feel like Nigerians here, like we are going to speak from a Nigerian perspective because we're Nigerians first. To be honest, coming here, before I actually found an agent that even did my stuff, it was even hard because they were saying, oh, if you are going to any school that's not undergrad, you cannot use an agent. No agent does this for you. No agent does that for you. And it was just as easy as ABC. If I could have just sat down in front of a computer, gone to the school I attended, looked up the admission requirement, I could have paid $150 as opposed almost 1 million I paid for agency fee before I now got admission. I now paid acceptance. Before I did acceptance, I now paid school fees. That 1 million could have been part of my school fees. If you have an internet, even if you have an internet on your phone, research, Google. If you have ideas of schools that you want to attend, go to their website, look up their admission requirements. Do it yourself. Trust me, like, you might have the money to pay another person to do it for you, but you could save that money and put that into your actual school fees. What do you think about that, like the whole agency stuff?
Well, I would say I agree to an extent, and I disagree to an extent. Me, on the other hand, it was sort of half and half. So I found the school myself. I contacted the school and found out that they had a Nigerian representative, and I contacted them personally and not by going directly to the agent. So I would say it's more like different strokes for different folks, right? Like if you have the money, some people who have that money don't want to go through the stress of doing any research, and they just want to pay someone so that the responsibility is of them, and they get it. Like people do that, right? I know. For getting my admission and everything, from the point of looking up the schools and where I wanted to go to, I did that myself. So applying and getting the admission. Then the point of getting the visa, I had to use an agent to get the visa. So it depends on what you have. Yeah, some people might have the money to do that. If you want to do that, that's fine. If you do not have the money to do that, and you're on a strict budget, then there are things. This is something you can actually do for yourself. But now, the thing is, where I say I disagree, because it takes a lot of money, right? So everyone wants to get this right the first time. You don't want to keep, applying, and you keep getting rejected. So there are some friends who have asked me, oh, how did I do this? I just, instead of me going through this whole long process of explaining how I came here as a student, I just direct them and say, okay, I'll just advise. The best thing is, I know a very good agent, go to this person. But now the problem with that is, if you're going to an agent that is just maybe one person sitting in his house, right? That person might just be as knowledgeable as I am. Probably went through the same process, and then, like she said, is trying to monetize the whole thing. Right? So you have to be careful. If you're going through an agent and you have the money, go to somebody that's credible. Is credible and has a long history of doing this, right? So, but then again, that is the aspect of coming as a student, right? Which a lot of people did then, like 5-6 years ago, right? But now it's a little bit different because they now reject people left, right, and center. So now most people come as primary residents. That now is where I can say, okay, you do not need an agent for that. You can actually do
your thing
yourself, because you now know that, okay, it's a pretty straightforward thing. You have to know the different streams that you can come through. You have to gather all your documents, and also those are stuff that you can actually do by yourself. So that's why I say I agree and I disagree, right? I know that when I applied to the school, I saved myself then when the application was like, just to apply to the difference, it was like 50k or something, and I paid like only 12,000 to apply to my school. So I saved myself some money. But yeah, that's where I feel like it's whatever floats your boat, really. If you're confident that you have the money.
One point that I strongly agree with your view, or one point that you shared that I strongly agree with, is about visa. Definitely, everybody wants to get the visa part right. So when you first apply to what's it called? When you first apply, you just want to make sure that okay, you have the right documents arranged in the way that when you get to the immigration officer, they're not looking for stuff helter skelter here and there. They get like tired and just like filling your application and probably reject you or something. You probably need an agent, because my agent really helped me to tell me, you know, what to put where, how to arrange my documents. He was really good at in that aspect. Like, he told me everything that I felt like, see, he said to me to just go to the embassy and get my visa. So I mean, in that aspect, I always advise people to use an agent for their visas, because those guys keep updated with what's happening in the country, and they know what the embassy is asking for, what they've stopped asking for, or what their focus is as the years go by. So the next, research well about housing and try to secure a living space on your own when you arrive. When you come to Canada, do you think it's wise for someone to have secured the place before they came, or they should just come and get an Airbnb and like use like search by themselves?
The thing about that is that it's not everyone that is lucky, right? Because like I said, landlords are different. Some people might be comfortable with you, they've never met you before, maybe they've only seen a picture of you, and you both communicated over the phone or something, and they're like, okay, yeah, I can rent this out to you.
Yep.
Some people might be that confident to
do it, to
let you rent, but I find that that's not always the case. I think most of the time it's not the case, because it's not like a job where, you know, there would have been an interview process. Yes, even before you rent, the person might want to know you, but then it's different when you're going to a job than when you're going to actually live in somebody's house, right? So I would say that's not usually the case most of the time, because you're not here. So usually it's when you get here, to get, like I said, to get the easiest place to get rent is just you go and look for
basement or like a room in a house,
just one bedroom to chill for maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, or you can get Airbnb, and if you're lucky, within a couple of days of your arrival, you get a
find
place.
Somewhere.
So you always get a place. Like there's always rent, or there's always accommodation for you to rent. What now matters is if your comfort level.
Exactly.
So if you're not used to living with people, and you're not used to having a lot of people, you know, moving around, sharing bathrooms and kitchen and all that, then it's always best to go for an apartment. But otherwise, you know, getting like, yeah, you should do your research and know what the average rent is in the place you're going to.
Yep.
So you should do that before you come. You don't just come here and expect to pay maybe $100.
$100 for rent? Are you joking?
So you have to do your research and know how much you need to have at least to hold you for, I would say, 3 months.
Yep.
First, before you now look for a proper place.
Yeah.
So that's what I think about that.
Yeah, thank you. So because I know that like now most of the study permits and work permits, unlike when my younger brother is here, he came here before he turned 16, like he came here undergrad. So the time when he came to Canada, basically when you come to Canada, you have to wait 6 months before you can actually actively start working. But the time, fast forward to the time when I came to Canada, from the time you land in Canada, they give you a study permit and you move into the country. You can even start working the next day if you're a hustler. But you know, it takes some time for you to settle down, get acclimatized to the environment, figure out how the buses work, figure out like, you know, where you are basically before you now start like trying to hustle. So I always advise people to, if you can, get an Airbnb at least for like 2 weeks. It will actually really help when you come, for you to actually study the environment. You're inside, you're researching, you're asking questions. So even when you're meeting landlords, you can actually go there physically in person and kind of meet them, get a feel of their vibe before you actually start renting.
Oh, one more thing, always get, if you're getting an Airbnb or just renting a 1 bedroom for a month or whatever, always get one pretty much where you're going to be either going to school or where you want to work, because there's not like Moodle here. They have transit quite alright, but getting around sometimes can be really difficult, especially if it's during the winter, right? So you don't want a situation where you're getting an apartment or you're getting a place and then you have to walk 20 minutes first to the bus stop and then take like 5 buses or whatever, you know. You don't really want to do that. So that's, I would say that's one thing. Yeah.
So the next question is, if you're thinking of relocating to Canada, what are the top two reasons why? And some responses that we got from Moyinye, she said peace and independence. Ronke said just you need to be honest and excited to stay. The Igbo maiden said health and career goals. Adama said professional reasons, and number 2, security. Virginia said better future for my family and peace of mind. Forever JC said money, 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 some more money. And Adedayo said peace of mind. My unborn kids need a secure and sane society. All these things make a lot of sense. Like, what do you think about these terms? Like, did you have any of these ideas when you're coming to Canada?
It's pretty much a little bit of everything. Like,
Yeah.
Those are actually good reasons for you to want to
come to Canada,
right? You know, you just have to be ready to go through some stuff. It's not everyone that comes in and finds it all rosy and it gets easy and everything, right? You have to actually be ready. You have to put in the work, right? Because nobody comes here and stays idle.
Yep.
But otherwise, yeah, like it's a sane society. Things work here. The government system works. Even if once in a while they still have their problems, which is pretty much the same in any other country you move into, right? So, but compared to Nigeria, for me, it's a no-brainer for me. Like, I decided to come here because I felt I'll have a better future here than in Nigeria. So, yeah, money as well. But the thing about money is that if you earn too much,
you pay the government more.
You pay the government
so the more dollar you earn, the more
taxes you pay. So
that's how the system works. So
it's pretty much
like everything makes sense, to be honest.
Everything, yeah, like
security
is there. You still have crimes quite alright, but it's not like
some places
no insurgency, right? So the next.
So we're going to go to the next response. Like, if you have questions regarding relocating to Canada, ask them. There was just one person that really asked a question I'm going to address. The rest are just comments. So the Igbo maiden said, how did you transition with your immigration status? So I came to Canada as a student, and I think we touched on some of these things.
Yeah.
But basically, before you come to Canada, like as an international student, some factors kind of impact your coming successfully. So if you were a student, like you went undergrad and you finished in like 2010, and then in 2020 you come and apply and say that I want to go to a college. Okay, you finished undergrad 10 years ago, you're doing a job, maybe you did a science course, you're working in a bank for like 7 years, and then 10 years later you want to go to Canada to go and study nursing. All the things don't add up. So those are kind of red flags. So I came to Canada after doing an undergraduate course, typically exactly after 1 year. So I just finished my school, did my NYSC, and after my NYSC I did my research and I came to Canada the following year. So there was no lag for me. I did my course. My course was a 3-year program. I completed my program in 3 years, got my work permit. So typically in Canada, if you do a program over 2 years, you would get a work permit of 3 years. It doesn't matter if your 2 years was in university, it was in college, it does not really matter. As long as you got a study permit for that course and it was longer than or equal to 2 years, you'll be getting a 3-year work permit. And within that 3 year, you're expected to find a job that is eligible.
Yeah.
So there are 3 NOC codes. I applied under the Canadian Experience class, and there's NOC code, NOC code 0A or B. I found a job within the first year in a NOC-B job, and I did that because, to be honest, I've seen people in the past, like while I was in school, that were scrambling at their 3rd year of their work permit. Like, if you don't get a job that is eligible, at the end of your work permit, you're going back home. There's no two way about it. Like, there's no negotiation, there's nothing. I just told myself that once I finish, I'll grind, I'll find a job in the first year, and I'll use that my first year to at least gain the work experience, then apply in my 2nd year. That's typically what I did, and that's how I transitioned from being a student to being a permanent resident. And now I'm kind of on my journey to citizenship. And we basically much had like this
the same it's pretty much the same thing. The other way would be if you're just coming straight from outside the country and you apply straight as a PR. So that's a different ballgame altogether. And like you said earlier, we would have an Instagram live where we discuss
more about this relocation, our experience, our journey. And if you have questions, feel free to join us via the Instagram account that will link in the bio, or rather in the comment section.
We have
so we did have one other question, very comprehensive question from Lulu. She had 8 questions. We're going to answer these questions as briskly as possible. So the first question was, what's the whole process of moving and getting a stay visa? So we just kind of talked about the student aspect of it. So do you want to tell them about the federal work experience that's coming as PR?
The other way would be, if you're already experienced in wherever you are, it doesn't have to be Nigeria. If you're already experienced and you and your job still qualifies under those 3 categories that we mentioned, right? You can apply for yourself or your family, or as permanent, apply to be permanent residents right away. So all you just need is, you need all your documents from when you were in school. You need a reference letter from
your work,
and you need to be able to prove
that
you
have
actually
some
did that.
finance.
Yeah, did the job, and you have the financial capability to sustain yourself and your family. So if it's easier when you're just one person, because the money you need to provide as proof will be lower than compared to when you are your family. So those are the major 2 ways to come as a student and to come in as a permanent resident. The next question is, how is life there aside from the cold
that we hear of?
So it's pretty, like, first off, if you want to leave, if you want to come to Canada, whether you like cold or not, you have to figure it out.
You have no choice.
So, but the only choice I would say you have to an extent is you can decide to live in a place that isn't too cold. But then it's expensive to live there too. So something must give, right? So,
so I guess life here is good, to be honest. Life here is sustainable. If you have a job, you can keep your head up.
It's not
And
good
if you're lazy, life here is not that great. But if you're hardworking and you know how to grind and you're ready to be humble, Canada is an amazing place to be. That's all I can say.
So the next question is, what's the cost of living? It depends on where you're living, pretty much. Like, it depends on so many things, right? So if, like I said, if you want to live the La Vida Loca life, and you have a really great job, probably paying you closer to 6 figures, then you can live in places like Toronto, that is like the New York of Canada, right? So like, it's expensive to live there, but then you'll be chilling, right? But then if you're just looking for a modest living and not something too fancy, and or just simple, there are places too where you can actually live in. I think Ontario is probably the most expensive province in Canada.
Right? Like he has rightly said, Ontario is where we both live. I, for one, I've lived in Toronto all my life. Like, since I came to Canada, I don't know why I'm always saying all my life. I've not been here all my life, but all my stay in Canada is Toronto. So another thing you can do, if for instance your school is in Toronto, you have no choice, because my school was in Toronto, my job is in Toronto, so I literally have no choice but to be in Toronto. But how I've been able to wing my way around it is sharing. If you have someone that you can trust to share your space with, you can share. I share an apartment with my friend, and it's a seamless living, to be honest, because we both have common areas and we're both responsible. So I mean, as far as you can find somebody that you can coexist with, you can share and you can survive. I mean,
but then if you have a family, then again it's different, right?
It's different. If you have a family, you want to make sure that at least you are coming to the country with some money. Obviously, you probably want to live in a place that is that's private for you, your family, and your kids and all that. So
the next question is healthcare. What's the healthcare system like?
One word.
The healthcare system is amazing.
I swear, that's the word. I'm like, amazing.
It's as long as even for those who don't necessarily have like an awesome job, you still have government still covers
like majority of the
majority of the health aspects, right? So they cover surgeries and some other stuff. So the healthcare system is actually, they have what they call universal healthcare, which makes it easier for people that even do not have money as well. So that's one of the topics we actually talk about
when we do the IG live. But another thing that you should know is, if you're in Canada and you have a job in Canada, if you have a job that gives you benefits, for instance, some companies offer benefits that include supplemental health. So supplemental health will cover things like your drugs, like if you're going to like a specialist like a dentist, or you're going to like a chiropractor, like stuff like that. I mean, the healthcare system is amazing. Like, if you think of any surgery or any kind of thing that you want to do, they cover it. But I mean, drug cannot be free. You have to buy drugs. So if you have a job that gives benefits, you can actually get everything free with your work benefit and the government's benefits. So yeah.
So
Next
the next
question.
question is, how is raising kids in Canada?
So we don't have kids. We do not have kids. We pray to have kids in the future, but right now we don't have kids. I think this is a video that we can actually film on a different thread. We have very close friends that do have kids, so I think it will make sense for us to bring them here and kind of talk about this topic in a broader light. So that's
Yeah.
something that we'll talk about.
Then the next one is, how's the help service like nanny, daycare? I'll just this will just be a short answer. It's affordable for those who can afford it. I'll
It's
put it that way.
expensive.
Like, it's
I beg.
expensive, but you do not like. Generally, here people try to avoid using nannies. Like, the only people that use nannies are those that probably have tight schedules and maybe their job doesn't really give them the time to take care of their kids. But otherwise,
One
families
person
here
has to
work it out, right?
sacrifice or
Someone has to
something
sacrifice. So maybe someone might be working
in the
um,
day, and one
during
person
the day and
stays
the other
home in
person
the day.
works at night. That kind of thing. But
For you to have a daycare, a lot of work has to go into it. So that kind of transcribes to how expensive you'd have to pay for it. I've heard someone say that paying for daycare a month is even more expensive than paying their rent. So,
yeah.
I mean, just find a way to make sacrifices within your family.
Next one, how long before you got your permanent residence? So I think we've sort of
So we
touched
kind of
this.
talked about this because we both came as students and then we transitioned into workers, and then
So,
we applied under Canadian experience. Give and take, it took us 3 years on average.
yeah, so if you add from your when you started your job to
I'll
when
be 4 years.
you got your residencies, around 3 to 4 years,
4
depending.
years ish. The deal breaker is when you apply and how long your
Yeah,
application
the
takes.
actual application process itself is anywhere between 2 to 6 months. Generally, they'll tell you, the government will tell you 6 months, but some people have taken longer,
Yup.
and some people have taken as little as
Shorter.
1 month. So it's different for different people, but generally they'll tell you that it takes about 6 months. But if you're looking to come from Nigeria, you should start 2 years ahead of time, because
Yep.
it takes. We'll go
Because they have to
into
verify all that, but
yeah,
we'll go into that in
details
Instagram
when we
Live.
have our Instagram live. So one more thing: is it better to move here as a student or then marry and come? So that also is different.
It's
Right?
a tricky situation.
Yeah, it depends on so many things. Really, pretty much anything you're doing about coming to Canada depends on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right? So
See, like if you're applying to Canada for like PR, for instance, and you're single, your application will take a shorter time than if you were applying for yourself and your spouse. And if you're applying for yourself and your spouse and your kids, those are 3 different scenarios, and those applications will take different application times.
yeah.
If you're married, there's no point lying and being like I'm single. If you're married, just apply with your spouse, and it might take longer. It will take longer than if you're applying as single, but at least you know that you're coming here with your spouse. Because they have to verify things pertaining you, your spouse, and if you had kids, they'll probably verify things about your kids and your finances and how you can take care of those kids. Anyway, that's just a summary of that.
It's also
it depends on where you are too.
It's one of the topics we also touch, but generally, like there are different stages or different routes that take. There's no straight answer to that. Like,
And there's no
if you're
shortcut.
coming as a student, this is an entirely different thing that they have to
ballgame.
verify. If you're coming as just a single person from Nigeria, it's different from someone that is single, that is married with just a spouse, and it's also different from someone that is married that has
A spouse and kids.
spouse and kids, right? So it's there is no, I wouldn't say it's better for you to get married first, but all I'll say is if you're married or if you're dating in Nigeria,
Oh, you're like almost
and
there.
it's just better to get married and then come as a family instead of applying as 2 separate individuals and then coming over here, right? So otherwise that's pretty much it. So
Yep, a little bit backstory. We both immigrated to Canada alone, and we came here as students, and we were able to transition to becoming permanent residency, and now we're working towards citizenship. But one thing I can say is, if you're coming to Canada, one word that summarizes my entire experience in Canada is very humbling. Humbling is just the word that summarizes my entire living here, because I've learned a lot of things that I cannot trade for anything. I've had hard times, down times, high times, happy times, and I mean, I'm thankful for the experience. I really hope that things that we've shared here have been helpful to you. If you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us. I'll let Chris tell us what his one word, one word summarizes your stay in Canada.
I'll say it's both humbling and chilling, right? Because you would go through times where you'd question why you actually moved to Canada, right? So
True.
everything that you know or everything that you think you knew
before you
came here,
you don't know anything.
you don't know, because
you know
here
nothing.
would actually put you, like, it will make you be humble pretty much, right? And it's been a great experience, and as long as you're down to earth and you're not, it's always going to be a great experience. So yeah, that's just it for me.
Okay. And one thing I want to say, see, it's one thing for you to see a video on Instagram of somebody that is in the snow and you like the picture, and it's an entirely different thing for you to be in the snow. Just make up your mind that if you decide to relocate to Canada or any other country, be ready for the worst. Like, just be prepared and be open-minded, because shit will get ugly before it gets beautiful. I'm telling you, like, forget about the fact that we are looking kind of put together, but things have gotten ugly in our lives even before we met. Like, personally, the road was rocky, but we are here now, and we really want to help as many people as possible. Who are subscribed? If you are not subscribed and you're here, don't share it with us, please, please, please. Just hit the button. It's free. Subscribe. Anyways, baby. Cheers. Until our next video.
Bye, guys.
Or rather, until my next video.
Yeah.
Peace and love. Alright, bye, guys.